Have you ever said something really, really dumb?
For years afterward, I was just like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Something you wake up at 3 a.m, 20 years later, still thinking about.
I got a story about a time that happened to me, what happened because of it, and I'm going to break down the story structure around it. Howdy, Jeff Bartsch here with Story Greenlight, where we're all about helping creators like you tell better stories so that you can connect with your audience and make your mark in the world. And because we're talking about stories, we talk a lot here about story structure, which can be super complicated or super simple or anywhere in between. But no matter where the complexity of the story falls between those two extremes, stories always seem to work the best when you have a framework to hang it on. Maybe a framework like this. One of the frameworks I talk about a lot is how a story is where a character wants something, overcomes conflict to get it, and experiences transformation as a result. Now, that middle part, the obstacles, the conflict, that's a big, big deal to making a story work well. And obstacles come in all shapes and sizes, and sometimes there's just no getting around it. Sometimes the obstacle is ourselves. This guy. I got a story about when I was the obstacle, when I was shooting myself in the foot, sticking that foot in my mouth. And to help tell how that went down, I want to introduce you to some friends of mine.
I am super stoked. I get to hang out with Zak Abitz and Erik Thureson of the Easy Podcast. Guys, can you just say hello?
Yeah, I'm Zak. This is Erik.
Hi, Zak.
And we are the Easy Podcast. That's where
Who
it comes from.
first?
Erik, but I usually intro the show, so there
He's
you go.
more important.
Well, debatable.
What is the podcast about and what makes it cool?
Well, we're filmmakers ourselves, and we are nerds. We love all things nerd. We have a big focus on gear. And
No pun intended.
He does that. That's his thing. We're trying to kind of bring a different side of it with the gear talk and with the cinematographer's talk or the editor's talk or even the gaffer and the grip. Just trying to kind of keep it fresh and give people something that they can't get anywhere else. Hopefully.
Yeah. What he said.
Zak and Erik were in town for Cinegear, which is a conference that takes place on the lot of Paramount Studios. So we got together to record an episode of their podcast, and they just started experimenting with this program that lets you use cell phones to do a live multi-camera switch on your iPad. So we actually have a video recording of parts of it. So here is one of the stories we talked about.
Actually, since you guys are so into production and you do so much shooting, there was a time when I was thinking that I wanted to be a camera operator.
Okay.
There's actually, I have this picture of when I was a kid, I would build this Lego model of this little guy on a camera crane.
Yeah.
Like a jib.
Yeah.
So and the guy was riding around with the film camera on the edge of the crane.
Yeah.
Because at that time, everyone was still shooting film, and I thought to myself, it's like, dude, if I can get out to LA and get to ride on a camera crane for an actually legitimate reason, then I will have arrived.
Right, yeah.
And of course, right when I got out here, that's when they started introducing the remote heads.
Motorized heads, right? Yeah, they don't need you out there anymore.
That was my dream.
Yeah. Rarely do you see it now.
Yeah, exactly. But what happened was I still thought that I wanted to do some camera operating, and it got to a point when I was out of college and I had gotten a couple contacts of some people who needed some camera operators. And this company hired me, and it was on like a national tour for like a great big healthcare company. So it was like this multi-venue connected with satellites.
Wow.
They were doing a really pretty high-end corporate presentation thing. And I was in the venue. That was and the venue director was actually the owner of the company. And we were driving from the hotel to the venue at one point, and the boss, the guy who signed my check, was driving the van, and we were in Houston or Dallas, I think, and he was talking about how how hard it was to figure out some of the freeways and how to get on and off some of the freeways
Texas roads are
they're weird,
kind of strange.
Yeah.
The Texas turnarounds.
Yeah.
They don't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, they don't.
No.
Yeah.
Well, and so and this was in my early 20s, in my wisdom, decided to say, well, they try to put the signs up there and they try to make it as idiot-proof as possible.
Oh, ouch.
Oh.
I called the owner of the company an idiot.
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Right, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And like for years afterward, I was just like, oh, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
Something you wake up at 3 a.m, 20 years later, still thinking about.
It's like as much as I can say, I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm grateful for the learning.
Yeah.
Thank you for that opportunity. Dude,
I remember my first day and my last.
Yeah, well, and from that moment forward, the guy would not even look at me in the face. He's just like, "Who hired you?
Yeah,
get out of my sight."
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I never operated camera again after that gig.
Wow.
And what happened was it meant that my time was more open, so that when this opportunity opened up for this internship where I was learning this thing called the Avid, I was available.
Yeah,
sure.
And that was a really important way. Me putting my foot in my mouth was a very important part of me ending up as an editor.
So, quick story breakdown on this. A story is about a character who wants something. So the character is yours truly, who wants something, wants to be a camera operator, thinks it would be super cool to ride around on those camera cranes, which people don't do that anymore. And what got in the way? Me sticking my foot in my mouth, saying really, really dumb stuff. And so the character didn't really overcome the obstacle. The character was the obstacle, but the character absolutely did experience a change. I've not had a paid camera operating gig since that day. And instead of me wanting to be a camera operator, I ended up in a position where I had more free time, a lot more free time, and I was available for learning how the Avid Media Composer worked. I learned how to be an editor, and that's what I've done ever since. That is just one of the things we talked about. We chatted for about an hour. It was great. Erik and Zak are very cool guys. We talked about some more about my background, how I got into the place where I am, what it's like technically and logistically to cut on a monster hit television show like American Ninja Warrior. What it's like to be living the dream, because a lot of the times you get to the place where you're living the dream and it's not enough. What happens then? We talk about perfectionism and how that works in TV and how it works in YouTube and how it crosses over, and how storytelling is so incredibly important for us as creators and just as human beings. So if you want to check out the full episode of the podcast, jump on that link down in the video description. And now I got a question for you. When did you do or say something that was just incredibly dumb, and what happened? Drop some comments here. Let's talk about it. I'd love to hear your stories. If you haven't done it already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss a single video. Hit that link down below to check out the full episode of Erik and Zak with the Easy Podcast. They're very cool guys. And if you want to see another video, here's one that YouTube thinks you might like, and I will see you there.